Among the Hidden, Chapter 3, Part 2. Luke looked up automatically, as if to remind himself that nothing lit the rafters but the single bulb over his head. Except there was light at either end of the ceiling, leaking in under the peak of the roof. Luke stood up and went to investigate. Of course he should have remembered. There were vents at each end of the roof. Dad grumbled occasionally about heating the attic for Luke. It's just like throwing money out those vents. But Mother always fixed him with one of her stairs, and nothing changed. Now Luke climbed on top of one of the largest trunks and looked down through the vent. He could see out. He could see a strip of the road and the cornfield beyond, its leaves waving in the breeze. The vent slanted down and limited his view, but at least he was sure nobody would ever be able to see him. For a moment Luke was excited, but that quickly faded. He didn't want to spend the rest of his life watching the corn grow. Without much hope, he stepped down from the trunk and went to the other end of the attic, the portion that faced the backyard. He had to slide boxes around and drag an old step stool from the opposite end of the attic, but finally his eyes were level with the back vent. The view was not of the backyard, it was too close, but of the former woods. He had never realized it before, but the land there sloped away from his family's house, so he had a clear view of the acres and acres that had once been covered with trees. The land was abuzz with activity now. Huge yellow bulldozers shoved brush back from a rough road that had been traced out with gravel. Other vehicles Luke couldn't identify were digging holes for huge concrete pipes. Luke watched in fascination. He knew tractors and combines, of course, and he had seen his dad's bush hog and manure spreader and gravity wagons up close in the barn. But these machines were different, designed for different jobs, and they were all operated by different people. Once, when Luke was younger, a homeless person had walked up to the house, and Luke only had time to hide under the sink in the mudroom before the man was in the house begging for food. The door of the cabinet was cracked, so Luke had been able to peek out and see the man's patched trousers and holey shoes. He had heard his whiny voice. "I ain't got no job. I ain't ate in 3 days. No, I can't do farm work for my food. What do you think I am? I'm sick. I'm starving." Other than that homeless person and pictures in books, Luke had never seen another human being besides his parents and Matthew and Mark. He'd never dreamed there was such a variety. So I'm going to stop here because Luke is having another flashback, remembering a time where he saw a different person other than his family. And it kind of like shocks me, and it really makes, I'm surprised because it's got to be really like overwhelming to see all kinds of different people at once when you've never seen more than like 4 people in your whole life. Many of the people running the bulldozers and shovel contraptions were stripped of their shirts, while others standing nearby wore ties and coats. Some were fat and some were thin, some were browned by the sun, and some were paler than Luke himself, who would never be tan again. They were all moving, shifting gears and lowering pipe, waving others into position or at the very least talking at full speed. All that activity made Luke dizzy. The pictures and books always showed people standing still. Overwhelmed, Luke closed his eyes and opened them again for fear of missing something. "Luke!" Reluctantly, Luke slid down from his step-stool perch and scrambled over to recline innocently on his bed. "Come in," he called to his mother. She climbed the stairs heavily. "Are you okay?" Luke dangled his feet over the side of the bed. "Sure, I'm fine." Mother sat on the bed beside him and patted his leg. She swallowed hard. "It's not easy, the life you've got to live. I know you'd like to look outside. You'd like to go outside." "That's okay, Mother," Luke said. He could have told her then about the vents. He didn't see how anyone would object to him looking out there, but something stopped him. What if they took that away from him too? What if Mother told Dad and Dad said, No, that's too much of a risk. I forbid it." Luke wouldn't be able to stand it. So he kept silent. Mother ruffled his hair. You're a trooper, she said. I knew you'd hold up all right. Luke leaned against his mother's arm, and she moved her arm around his shoulders and hugged him tight to her side. He felt a little guilty for keeping a secret, but mostly reassured, loved and reassured. Then, more to herself than to him, Mother added, and things could be worse. Somehow that wasn't comforting. Luke didn't know why, but he had a feeling what she really meant was that things were going to get worse. He snuggled tighter against Mother, hoping he was wrong. So the main thing that's happened in this chapter is that Luke now has a vent to look out and see the neighborhood being built.